Okay, this is my video number 1 for my Sports Nutrition Chapter 1 lecture. Remember, I'm viewing this slide right now in Google Docs, even though they're PowerPoint documents from Microsoft Office. I'm using Google, the Google Docs link that's provided by my campus. And there's more specific information when you look at the notes for each slide. Please don't forget that. So if I can get this to work here we go. So what is sports nutrition? I mean, it's funny to say sports nutrition when the fact of the matter is the nutrition's not for sports. It's for everyone on the planet. It's basically having a scientific, reasonable, mature approach to the way you eat. And for athletes, especially because they may have specific needs, it's ignoring all the hype and using really proven strategies to ensure that you're ready for practice, you're ready for events, and you're ready for recovery. And I think that's the one aspect that typically is forgotten. Right? You're not just eating for soccer practice. You're not just eating for a 10K run. You're eating for recovery. Do you really need a protein supplement before you go to the weight room? No, it has no effect on the way you work out. It will have zero effect on your ability to lift weights in the weight room. In fact, eating a lot of protein before you work out is probably a really bad idea because it takes a long time to digest dietary protein and dietary fat. But if you're saying an hour out you do a protein shake before you go to the weight room, well, in my mind, I view that as prepping for recovery, right? Helping your body get through the repair process. So it's not just for performance, right? Another thing about athletes is specifically, again, you don't have to be an athlete to take this course, is your dietary schedule is tricky. You're traveling, you may not have access to refrigeration, so your food options just can't be, and you may have weight limitations on your sport, gymnastics, wrestling. So you got to eat really clean, and you're traveling. Where can you eat really clean when you're traveling, other than bringing your own food? So, sports nutrition isn't just for athletes, but there are some aspects of this class that are very specific for athletes. We spend probably the first half of the semester just talking about nutrients. And I know there's things more than, so what are nutrients? Things you have to eat, right? Molecules that we can't make. They help us run our body. We use them for fuel. We build with them, like bones and stuff. And that's not just molecules. Some of that's just literally elements like calcium. And there are other things in foods, right? Antioxidant, things that give food color, phytochemicals. We don't cover those as much, not because they're not important. A, our text doesn't really include them, and B, whether they have any actual effect on performance, that is really debatable. Does green tea or do berries help you run longer? I don't know. Could they help with recovery? Maybe. Antioxidants might be helpful for recovery. And then again, we'll learn later on when we cover vitamin E, they may not. So, the first nutrient we're going to talk about in this kind of intro to the nutrients in chapter 1 is carbohydrate. There are 3 macronutrients, foods that you compounds you eat in great amount: carbohydrates, protein, and fat. For athletes, other than water, not getting enough carbohydrate will get you in trouble in terms of your ability to perform, especially for endurance athletes. We mostly use carbohydrates for fuel. They don't provide a ton of energy. When we talk about energy, things come in calories per gram. Protein and carbohydrates provide 4 calories per gram. Fat provides a lot, 9 calories per gram. But carbohydrates, especially the ones we use in and around sports, right? So maybe not oatmeal, but Gatorade, bananas, grits, instant grits, goo packs. Those are highly digestible. They break down really fast. They get into the bloodstream, and they're easy to use. So for athletes, it might be the most important of the macronutrients. Again, you don't drink enough water, you die. It could be carbohydrates in terms of your performance, especially in aerobic endurance sports, soccer, tennis, swimming, etc. So again, just an intro. Protein, more of a building block. And not just, you don't just need protein just to perform well using muscles, but protein's also really important in repair. Many of you are older than 18. You're kind of done growing. Now, You can build up tissue in the weight room by putting pressure on the body and then responding back in kind. But in terms of height and weight, you have in theory done growing. But for athletes, you trash the body, you need to repair the body. And that's a big deal, right? Many non-athletes on the planet eat way more protein than they need. But depending on the sport you play, you may need more protein than average, especially for power athletes, people who do a lot of trashing of the body. Another thing about nitrogen, which is about protein, which is very unique, of all the elements in the periodic table, protein provides nitrogen. Right, it's the inert part of our atmosphere, right? Nitrogen gas, N2. Nitrogen is kind of funny because when it's in molecules in the body, it's kind of toxic. So we're really good at like breaking down protein when we don't need it and peeing out excess nitrogen. But when you look at a plate, right, a plate of food, if you have like an atomic spectrum built in your eyeballs, like a superhero, all the nitrogen on the plate would mostly be all your dietary protein. So when we cover the protein later on in the semester, you'll realize for nutrition folks and for sports physiologists, it's actually easier just to track nitrogen coming into your body and coming out of your body. And you start asking questions. Do our athletes eat enough nitrogen? And it'll be explained. Can you use protein for energy? You can, you will, you shouldn't. That should be carbohydrate and fat. And that's what we're going to end this little video on, is the last of the major macronutrients. Water technically is a macronutrient because you consume a lot of water. But usually in kind of the vernacular, the macronutrients are the ones that provide energy, carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Fat is the most caloric of all the nutrients. The human body is smart. We don't store starch. We do. But we don't store sugar cubes under our skin. We store fat. And we store fat because during times of need, it provides 9 calories. That's much more energy than than carbohydrate or protein. And so it's a great source of energy. For athletes, though, there's exceedingly few bits of data that indicate that you can fat your way to better performance. Athletes should choose fat the way everyone else does. Limit your animal fat, limit your dairy fat, eat more plant fat, less plant oil fat, more fat in plant stuff. Seeds, avocados, cashews, walnuts, almonds, flax, pumpkin seeds. And if you're going to consume animal fat, limit it, because that kind of fat is actually not needed. And of the animals, we like the fish fat, assuming your fish is not contaminated with some nasty stuff from the ocean. Okay, that's video number 1.